Hello and welcome back to Let's Dev episode 4. We just got done texturing this engine in the last episode, and we're going to start in on modeling the rest of the ship, get that all textured as well over the next couple of episodes, and then we can start bringing things into the engine and get into the fun stuff of working in. Well, this is fun too, but get into the other fun stuff of working in Unreal Engine. Get started here. I'm just going to have this snap to the grid and move it 2 meters over. I think just 2 meters, maybe 3. And I'm going to go ahead and duplicate that. And move it 1, 2, 3 over to the other side. And now there is a couple of ways you can do this. Let me remember how it's done in Blender. Gotta find. Oh, okay. One way to do this would be to set the scale to whatever it is negative. Not that way, though. We want of course, last one. I'm going to check. -1 on the x-axis. Yep, there it is. Will give you a reverse image. Although I've had some trouble with the normals when I do it this way. So I am going to just rotate it 180 degrees. And that way it will have a different texture showing at the top and kind of make them look a little more distinct, a little less like duplicated engine components and more like they were both modeled separately. And I'm actually thinking I'm going to have a couple of smaller engines in front of these ones as just kind of turning and directional engines. So just to get, I'm going to be merging this all into one mesh eventually. And I'm going to just make some duplicates. Actually, I'm going to reverse those again just to make sure everything's kind of staying a little distinct from each other on either side of the ship, make everything look a little varied. Alright. Let's go ahead and start digging into this. Now, a thing that I've been doing go with the cube, I think. Like to do one of my UV tricks, but honestly I don't think I'm going to be able to with this part of the ship anyway. Gonna probably have to do custom UVs no matter what, which is fine. That'll be an interesting thing to get into for the podcast as well. And a thing I've been doing with the UVs on the other ships I've already made is making it a symmetrical ship so I can use half as much UV space and get more bang for the buck. I think I'm going to do that again here. So if we just put, this was still centered where we spawned it in, where we created it. So if I divide that in half, then just delete this half of it. I should be able to run this modifier, symmetry modifier. Yeah, that's the one. I wonder. Actually, don't know if this is going to work, but I'm going to try it anyway. Try it live and just see. Let's see what happens. I'm also going to cut it in half this way. I may regret this when we get to the UV editing part, but it's kind of cool. I'm gonna see if this will work. All right, and then we need some wings. So let's think how we want to do that. Let's kind of bevel those edges. And maybe this is just a wing. We want it to be pretty, and this is the main kind of body of the wing, so it'll be what hooks up to the rest of the ship. But still think we're going to want it to be relatively narrow. These. Let's see. We're in uncharted waters with this X and Z axis mirroring. So I'm gonna have to kind of try some things out as we go and see how they work. But that's alright. Although I know in an earlier episode I was talking about how we want to try and keep things in quads, but I'm not loving the way this quad is coming together over at this end. Got 3 of the vertices here, and then one of them is pulled all the way over here. And I think I'm going to go ahead and cut in an edge right there. Let me just make sure that these vertices didn't come unattached. I want those still all merged together. Looks like they're good. But now it knows to follow the edge down along this side rather than try and make a smooth quad all the way out to the end of the wing. I bet I gotta do that. Yep. Over here too. And let's test that out. Okay. Yeah, that should work. I'm curious how this would work if I were to... Okay, so that's going to turn out a little wonky with the 4-way mirroring. going to merge these all together, so I want to be kind of careful not to have these faces come apart on the mirror modifier, because I just want it to merge all together when I apply it at the end here. It shouldn't be impossible as long as I'm paying attention to what I'm doing. Well, I am starting to think I might want to do this without starting off with that bevel. That might be causing me a lot of the trouble. Let's just backtrack a little bit here. Oh, ran out of undos. But pretty sure. Actually, you know what? This might be easier to just start fresh. Alright, so we're going to add a cube. And we're going to shrink it down. A little skinnier. And a little longer. And we're going to go into edit mode and cut that in half both ways. And we're going to select all these faces. Let's see, I just want the box select. Go ahead and put on that mirror modifier. Now we just want to keep this really simple for now. Keep it very basic shape so it's easy to work with. Just need a loop cut there. And here for the wings, maybe about there. Need one up top. And I think that should be enough to get us started. I'm going to put one more in. Here. Let's see how that works. And maybe if we I know I'm going to want more loop cuts. Let's maybe do those first. Oh no, it still doesn't see that as a smooth. Okay, so we got to adjust this geometry a little bit. Maybe we can get that to be seen as an edge loop. I really would prefer it if that were to be a smooth edge loop there. Let me see what else I can do. I know I had said this might be dangerous earlier, but maybe there's a way if we can just find a way. Bring that just down to exactly 0. Generally, I would try not to do active problem solving on the podcast because I feel like it keeps me from talking as much as I should to kind of keep things moving. I apologize for the dead air. Too much dead air on this one. It would be nice to be able to get this to work. No, and I'm just gonna go for it. What's the worst that could happen? What's the worst thing? Insert some faces, then we'll manually merge vertices later if we need to. Which we probably will, but actually good thing to do while we're here is probably delete this face because we won't want that to exist. We'll want these vertices to merge with the generated vertices from the mirror modifier. When we actually create it or apply it, I suppose. Okay. Tell me this is gonna work. this wing again. Whoops. Just this way. And edge loop. Put that down. Back. This forward a little bit. Now I can finally put in this edge loop. Really make this wing kind of fit to the engine that we already made. Yeah, there we go. Like that a lot better. Want this one. Trying to get the wing to kind of curve around this lip of the engine. Alright, there we go. Sweep these back a little bit. And kind of taper everything down as it goes. There we go. Remember, I'm going to want this edge loop already there. And I want faces. Bring that up just a little. Then deselect these. Bring that up a little more. Then sweep this back a little bit. Let's see here, though. I do think we probably want this to be a little bit smaller, a little further back. Swept a little bit more. Then I'm going to have this whole thing kind of rotate with an animation to give the racer its direction while it's flying around. Kind of curve this way for turning, and then up and down to tilt side to side for yaw, I suppose, and then up and down for pitch. And while we've got it in symmetry mode, we can start to work on UV unwrapping. Get a grid going here. Then it will just have, it should, in half and half mirroring, it will have the same UV layout for all of the mirrored sides. So it'll have the same texture mirrored on either half of the geometry. And I'm hoping with 4 I can just have it mirrored. It looks like it is going to work. You can kind of see with the UV grid that it looks like it will work. Which is good, because that'll save us a bunch of space, and this is going to be a little bit more complicated of a ship. Have a little bit more geometry to UV than some of the other ones. But I'd like to try and fit it on a 1K texture still, because I'm just keeping it kind of small, prototypey game that could be played on a wide variety of PCs, even if they're a little bit older or don't have the strongest graphics capabilities. Let's see, we'll go ahead and just do this whole region. Maybe maybe we'll mark a seam here. Mark the seam and just see if that will give us a little more of a straight line. Not terrible for a wing. Though I do wonder, I think we might get a little more out of it. We just go ahead and make a seam here as well. I guess since we're getting so much out of this, with it being duplicated across two axes, I think I'm gonna take the time to actually line everything up here. Just have it all. Actually, I'm a little bit worried about how that might turn out, so maybe I'll keep them separated. Wedge them together as much as I can. It should be okay. Go ahead and guess what's the worst that could wind up happening. I'll just have to make a video about solving some of the problems I created for myself when I tried new things. It's a big part of developing a game as well. Align everything. Even if it doesn't work quite the way I expect, I'm gonna make sure it's set up properly. And hope that it does work. And I really don't know where I'm gonna want everything on the UV sheet yet. So for now, I'll probably just pull these off to the side, because there's going to be more geometry and I don't want everything to get tangled up. And that was the top wing. You can see the although that does remind me. That I want to just this a little bit for the textile density. Alright, that's a little better. Then we want the side wing there a face hiding down there? There is. I don't need that. Yeah, these are a little bit misaligned. You gotta be real careful about this kind of stuff. When you're using a mirror modifier. Because it can sneak up on you and you won't even know there's a face hiding out in the inside of your geometry till you've already exported it into the engine and it's causing problems. Oh, I just realized I did all of that on my off screen, but this edge along here was a little too low. I was just grabbing vertices and bumping it up a little bit. But back to the UV sheet. And grabbing these faces. Oh, that guy being there. Makes me think there might be another face hiding out. I don't see it though. Where is that coming from? Oh, there's a face inside up here where I extruded it as well. Okay. Okay. Let's just get rid of that. And there we go. We'll get the side wing edge as well. Just like last time, we'll line up all these vertices. And see if we can't get everything to UV. UV nicely. Alright. Get that out of the way. I'll keep, these are very similar, but I'm going to keep them separate. Because I might want a different texture on the horizontal wings than I do on the vertical wings. And then I can have some variety, horizontal and vertical variety, make everything, you know, look nice. And I think I'm gonna, now that we've got that UV laid out pretty well, gonna start cutting in some detail that shouldn't disrupt the UV map. It should just cut it into the UVs the same as it's going onto the model. It's all looking pretty good, which makes me inclined it's just to be safe. Go ahead and increment and save. We'll go ahead and apply that modifier. Okay, and it looks like, oh, nope. Nope, not quite. That's alright, because we can do a merge by distance. We just select all of these that we were wanting to merge by distance. Think that should be close enough that got rid of all of the duplicates while being far enough away that it didn't merge any vertices that I wanted to keep. But let's test that out. You select just one vertex and it moves the whole series of quads that it's attached to, and you know that it's merged geometry and it's working. This is looking good. Alright, now that that's all there, I would really like to make sure that these kind of flare at the middle. Just expand that out a little bit. There. This. Like this, just these. Sweep back a little bit more. Maybe these pull forward. Yeah, there we go. Now we can cut in that bevel, get everything looking really smooth. beveling goes a lot better if you make sure that you have a continuous loop that kind of goes all the way around and connects back to where it starts. And then it's less likely to create any n-gons or weird geometry that you'll have to fix later. Not always a guarantee, but it can help. Just going to take all of the leftover edges from that cube we started with. And try and smooth them out. Looks like it goes all the way around. Oops. This side. Try and make sure I didn't bevel anything too far. It did create an n-gon at that corner though. Overall, I'm pretty happy. I think I'm pretty happy with the way that turned out. I'm gonna just make sure that okay. There's at least a reasonable distance between any of the new vertices that were beveled in. But let's run a cleanup here. Just cut here. Here. Across here. Across there. Same up top. All right. Alright, looks like that took care of it. Not seeing any highlighted faces. So we should be all good. I do think now that I can do insert faces, though, I'm gonna make a little indentation here. Yeah. That'll do okay. Then we'll need to connect it up to the actual driver's seat that's going to be up here, and it'll need an uplink that allows it to look like it rotates freely. I feel like the simple solution here would be to just add a new mesh. Just generate a torus. We don't need nearly this detailed. Maybe just a 16 segment torus. We can attach this to the front here. Let's see, this should have a pretty good UV on it, but just put that grid material on to make sure. If we have this ring here, that'll give it justification for the yaw control. And we can just duplicate that. That will give us pitch control. I might say I'm going to let it just be that simple. It's not going to get a ton of scrutiny being right in the middle of the ship like that. And should be all good. Would like it to be at an even someplace that I can just lock the location to the center of it. Lock a bone to the center of it so I can have that pivot really go just around this uplink. Go ahead and join these together because I would like to go ahead and get this sort of squared away and then out of the way. Doesn't get a ton of texture space, but it's also, it's not going to be a place that many people are looking at. And I think I'm going to go ahead and call that the end of episode 4. Next time we'll be working on the pilot's pod section of the ship and trying to get some texturing done. And then soon we'll be moving on to rigging and setting up animations for the game export. So I hope to see you all there.